Am I doing this right? How about now?
Good. Using a robot to control your camera's focus is great, but not for everything. If you're new to working with cameras and not sure what type of focus to use for certain shots, I'll show you which scenarios are best for either manual or autofocus. When should you use manual focus? If you're someone like me that loves vintage lenses, you know one of the main drawbacks is they're fully manual, so you have no choice but to use manual focus. It makes sense that if you want to get a certain look with vintage lenses, you'll obviously have to use manual focus. Another scenario where you would use manual focus is a locked off shot. So if your camera's on a tripod and the subject isn't moving at all, something like an interview, that would be best to use manual focus, because I've had experiences where using autofocus, it would start to hunt back and forth for the person when they would move around a lot, which indefinitely made for some errors and ended up ruining some of the footage. Another reason to use manual focus is when you want to rack focus or do some focus pull shots. This is a great way to control the audience's attention so that they could focus on one object and then focus on the other object. You see this a lot in movies whenever there's two people talking. It'll rack focus from one person to the next. So when is it best to use autofocus? Solo content creation is one of the main reasons you would use autofocus. Something like this on YouTube, where you're the only person in front of the camera and there's nobody behind the camera. Primarily, you'd want to use this whenever you are moving around and you want to make sure that the focus is on you the entire time, so you can use some autofocus tracking. Another scenario would be using a gimbal, because most likely your gimbal won't have a manual focus pull. And if you want one of those, you have to make sure that it works with your gimbal, and it also is usually around $100 or so for one of those. Going auto really comes in handy whenever you're trying to get those awesome smooth gimbal shots and make sure that your subject is completely in focus. Another reason to have autofocus on is if you don't have a great monitor. This could be a monitor that doesn't flip around so you can't see yourself, but also if your monitor is really small and it's hard to see, or if the quality on it just isn't that great. Now, with most of your cameras, you can be able to digitally punch in and get that nice zoom, or if it's just too far away to really check to see if that you're in focus, having that autofocus on will really come in handy. Those are the scenarios that are best for using autofocus or manual focus. Watch this video here for tips on getting the best results out of using manual focus.